más cálida bienvenida. Invito ahora al presidente de la Asamblea General a dirigirse a la comisión. Tiene usted la palabra.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to address you today. I congratulate you, Madam Chair, Ambassador Marisa Chan Valverde, and the distinguished Bureau members on your election. Your leadership will be crucial in addressing the formidable challenges before the First Committee. Our world is at a delicate crossroads with crises and conflicts raging in many regions. The citizens of the world look up to the United Nations. Progress in the work of the First Committee is an integral part of our collective hope for sustainable international peace and security. The responsibility you bear is immense, and your success is critical. Your work is of tremendous value to humanity. Just weeks ago, we adopted the Pact for the Future, which emphasizes the strong link between disarmament and our priorities for sustainable development, human rights, and humanitarian action. The Pact outlines key steps for preventing an arms race in outer space, advancing discussions on lethal autonomous weapons, addressing risks posed by emerging technologies, and renew our commitment to the complete elimination of nuclear weapons from the world. Excellencies, we need concrete measures to prevent a nuclear war or any use of nuclear weapons, but nuclear weapon states must take the lead, including in upholding their commitments under the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. A nuclear war cannot be won and should never be fought. I call on those states which have not yet acceded to the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons to do so without delay. I call on all parties to the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons to work together to ensure a successful outcome at the review conference in 2026. The Non-Proliferation Treaty is the only framework where nuclear weapon states and non-nuclear weapon states meet. Progress in nuclear disarmament negotiations is vital. The world cannot afford a slide back. In an era where weapons of mass destruction, new technologies, and evolving conflicts create a dangerous and complex dynamic, we need shared understandings and effective safeguards to avert disaster. We must also remain vigilant against the misuse of scientific advancements to create biological weapons. We must continue our efforts to strengthen the Biological Weapons Convention. Any use of chemical and biological weapons by anyone, anywhere, and under any circumstances is unacceptable. Echoing the words of the Pact for the Future, we must call for full compliance with and implementation of relevant treaties. Excellencies, in outer space, the risk of an arms race in humanity's final frontier is growing rapidly, and we urgently need a new regulatory framework to ensure outer space remains a shared resource for all humankind. Furthermore, the rapid development of new weapons technologies raises serious ethical, humanitarian, and legal concerns. Lethal autonomous weapons in particular present a significant challenge. The Pact for the Future proposes to advance with urgency discussions with the aim of developing an instrument and other possible measures to address emerging technologies in the area of lethal autonomous weapon systems. We must act with the urgency it demands. I strongly encourage you to be bold and result-oriented in your deliberations on this subject. Similarly, the risks posed by malicious cyber activities are growing exponentially. Here, I look forward to a successful outcome from the open-ended working group on information and communications technology security to ensure that the digital domain is not weaponized. Excellencies, we also see the use of explosive weapons in populated areas, one of the leading causes of civilian harm and death in conflicts worldwide. States must take measures to protect civilians and reduce the staggering human toll of these weapons. Civilians and civilian infrastructure must be protected in every armed conflict. The evolving sophistication of improvised explosive devices likewise demands a coordinated and sustained response, as does the long-standing challenge of cluster munitions. The Convention on Cluster Munitions is essential in mitigating this harm, and I deeply regret the recent decision of a state party to withdraw from the Convention. Excellencies, the proliferation and availability of small arms and light weapons continue to fuel conflict, undermine development, and impose devastating human costs. I call on states to implement the practical, action-oriented measures that we agreed upon at the 4th Review Conference to address these challenges. Similarly, I strongly encourage states to implement the commitments outlined in the Global Framework for Thought-Through-Free Conventional Ammunition Management. Excellencies, as we conclude, let me address the critical issue of global military expenditure, which reached a record $2.4 trillion in 2023. This level of spending diverts vital resources from education, health, and development, undermining progress toward the Sustainable Development Goals. Our security paradigm must shift from one centered on military stockpiles and arms races to one that prioritizes people and their well-being. We must prioritize dialogue, transparency, and confidence building as essential tools for shaping a more secure and peaceful world for all. Together with determination and shared purpose, we can fulfill this aspiration. I wish the First Committee the utmost success in its work throughout this session. You have my full support. I thank you.
Agradezco al presidente de la Asamblea General por su declaración. Tengo entendido que el presidente de la Asamblea General debe dejarnos ahora, pues tiene otro compromiso. Agradecemos una vez más su presencia y esperamos colaborar más ampliamente durante el actual periodo de sesiones.